Let's pivot to one of our favorite subjects, college football playoff
Yeah.
expansion. I know you have a lot to say about this. And I just want to take you back to when the concept was out there not too long ago, where the Big Ten and the SEC had 4 guaranteed spots in expansion. This is going to 14 teams. The Big 12 and the ACC were only guaranteed 2. When you first saw that, model, what went through your head? What went through your heart?
I didn't like it. And obviously that model's been out there for almost a year now. And I didn't like it because I just felt that it created a huge divide between us and those two conferences. Now, as you guys know, I have good self awareness. I know where we reside in the world of college football, but I just felt that it put a line in the sand that didn't need to be there. Okay, I'm a firm believer in that. If you create value, you should be rewarded, earn it on the field. Okay, every year's a new year. And by the way, with settlement, in theory, it should be creating a level playing field across the board. Okay, so I didn't like it, and it was somewhat foreign to me. And I was pretty outspoken during our spring meetings that a 5-11 format was certainly something I liked. I like 16 because more access is good. Okay,
Yep.
there's a point where access, starts equating to dilution, but I don't think at 16 you're diluting anything. I think it's a good number to work with, and obviously the 5 AQs is what we have right now, effectively. The five highest rated conference champions. So felt comfortable with that format versus every year knowing what someone already has and before you even, play the season. And I felt that it was in the best interest of those two conferences only and not in the best interest of the fans in college football. So I was outspoken about it. That being said, I've got a great relationship with my colleagues, within the Power Four. And I do believe that we will ultimately get to a place that is good for all of us. It might not be great for all of us, but it'll be good for all of us. And I think, I speak on their behalf also, that we're committed to figuring out a solution. And I'll be with them next week, and I'm sure, CFP will be a topic of conversation, and we'll roll up our sleeves and we'll hopefully figure this out.
Commissioner, I was kind of a fan, not necessarily that the Big 12 and ACC got left out, but the 4-4-2-2-1-1 was appealing to me for one reason, and that is you eliminate the committee, basically. The committee now it's human error. I've been from BCS to the first college football playoff to the recent one. When I was coaching, I was involved in each one. And the committee, I would ask people actually when they left the committee how it was done, and to a man, everyone was like, a lot of them have no idea, they're not watching film because they really can't. Uh, and when they are watching film, what are they really watching? That's an acquired skill in my mind. I mean, it is. In the new formula that you made, I think you said 5-11, is there a way to eliminate the human error of the committee and say, once again, the 4-4-2-2 was 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC, 2 and 2 to the Big 12 and the ACC. The best thing I loved is there's play-in games. You play in to get one of those spots. It's not a group of people sitting there and say, this team's better than that team, because quite honestly, they don't know that. And it's not their fault because no one really knows that unless you go play the game.
So there was elements of the AQ model that, candidly, I liked. I do like the playing game. I think making championship weekend for all the conferences that much more dramatic, because there's more at stake, is obviously a great component of that model. Um, the selection committee and the process they go through has been a topic of conversation. And I don't want to dismiss the selection committee from the standpoint of saying it can never get better. And I think we owe the time and effort to roll up our sleeves, to do a full audit of the selection process, and to figure out what's going wrong, where is it too subjective, and where it can be better. And I know we're going to have a deep conversation about that next week when the management committee comes together with the CFP organization to further discuss it. Mac Rhodes, who obviously is the new chair of the selection committee and a part of the Big 12, the AD at Baylor, is committed to making it better. And I know he's been working tirelessly. Last year was his first experience on the selection committee to figure out ways they can modify the process, and be less subjective about, their decision maker, and to make sure that they're using the right data. Because you're right. I mean, some conferences are playing 8 conference games, others are playing 9.
Right.
I was very outspoken last year. I want to know, how is strength of schedule weighted when you think about all the different metrics.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of questions. But I did go through a mock session recently. The CFP hosted that for the management committee and the commissioners. It was very eye opening for me. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of data that's being used. Is it the right data? I don't have an answer for that. But we are going to do an audit. We are going to do a deep dive into the process, and hopefully we can land in a better place.